Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the lecture series, Being Human. Today, I think I want to start with a little bit about how to be with this lecture. And not instructions, just some suggestions, I guess, if I will. First, please don't take anything that I teach in these lectures and apply them to your life. This is kind of like taking apples out of your neighbor's apple tree and then super gluing them to the tree in your backyard. Yeah, they're gonna look good for a minute, but then they're gonna rot and fall off. So instead, what I want you to do is pay attention to the fact your tree grows apples. In fact, that's what your tree is designed to do. You have access to wisdom, to insights, to common sense, and look to these lectures not to instruct you, but maybe to spark some deeper insight, some deeper wisdom to come through. I know that sounds a little cryptic, and I don't mean to be cryptic. There's a great parable that talks about this. It's a Buddhist parable. It's about this English scholar, and this English scholar decides he's got to write a book about spirituality. So part of this book about spirituality is he's going to write about Zen Buddhism. And to write about Zen Buddhism, being a good scholar, he figures he has to go over to the Far East, and he has to find a Zen master. Well, he finds a Zen master, and he asks the Zen master, can I ask you some questions? You see, I'm writing this book about spirituality, and the Zen master invites the English scholar over for tea. Well, they sit down, the Zen master pours the English scholar a cup of tea and says, son, what is your question? The English scholar says, well, as I told you, I'm writing this book about spirituality, and I need to know about Zen Buddhism so I can write this book, because it's a piece of spirituality that I don't understand. And he's all excited about it, and the Zen master, without skipping a beat, he picks up the pot of tea. He starts to pour it in the English scholar's already full cup. The cup overflows onto the saucer, onto the table, and the English scholar jumps up and says, Zen master, what are you doing? You're making a mess. The Zen master simply replied, your cup's already so full. I've got nothing left I can teach you. Well, the English scholar, being a clever man, he thought he figured out the riddle. He thought he figured out the metaphor. He says, Zen master, can I then change my question? Can I ask you, how shall I empty my cup? Zen master looked at the English scholar puzzled and said, that's perfectly good tea in that cup. Why in the world would you want to empty it? Zen master getting frustrated, or the English scholar getting frustrated, says, Zen master, what is the right answer here? What do you expect of me? Zen master simply replied, I ask you to listen with a bigger cup. So please don't throw out anything you know, but listen for what you don't. I ask you today to kind of listen with a bigger cup. I'll save you some time. This is something that I had to learn the hard way. Listening to confirm what you already know is a horrible way of learning something new. And there's two types of fools in the world. One that follows you blindly without thinking for themselves. The other one dismisses you before you even get started. So if you are anywhere in between completely dismissing me or believing every word I say, you are in fertile ground to see in something new, to see something fresh, to get something new to come through. So with a little bit of instruction on how to be with this video, kind of how to understand and work through this, and taking some of the pressure off of learning anything, instead paying attention to the insights and wisdom that come through for you. I guess I want to start here. I want to start with geometry. You guys remember high school geometry? Yeah, me neither. But I remember there were some principles to geometry. There were some rules. There was something called spatial dynamics. And in spatial dynamics, there was a rule that as you got closer to something, you were getting further away from its opposite. Right? If I'm getting closer to your screen, I'm getting further away from the picture. As I get further away from your screen, I'm getting closer to the picture. And there's some mathematical formula that you can figure out how far you've traveled, so how far away you are looking backwards or looking forwards, and I'm not going to do the math, but it's this very basic understanding of spatial dynamics. If you're on an elevator and you're on the first floor going towards the 10th floor, as you get closer to the 10th floor, you're getting equidistance further away from the first floor. So we kind of understand this idea that as we move towards something, we must be moving away from its opposite. Well, I think the same thing is true of psychology. Same thing is true of how we interact with the world. The same thing is true of our mental world. If I'm battling with anxiety, don't I want to look for the quietest, most peaceful mind I can find? Isn't that moving away from anxiety? Am I supposed to turn and face the anxiety and talk through it and deal with it? Am I supposed to look for a quiet mind and a peaceful feeling? If I'm feeling depressed, should I look for a beautiful feeling? Should I look for something nicer? Should I look for something that feels better? If I'm completely overwhelmed, should I look for a quiet mind and a beautiful feeling? If I'm in a quiet mind and a beautiful feeling, I cannot be in a feeling of stress. If I'm in a place of calm and peace and serenity, I can't be in a feeling of anxiety. And by the way, moving into a good feeling usually feels better than trying to fix or manage or tolerate whatever feeling's coming up for us. So we have a little bit more autonomy in our internal geometry than we think, our internal geography, if you will. You guys ever been to Plum Island? If you've never been to Plum Island, it's this quintessential New England charm coastline area of Newburyport. It's when they're talking about New England coastal charm, that's what they're talking about. It's this little island, it's probably 200 houses. It's got this beautiful stretch of beach. This beautiful stretch of beach is right where the Merrimack River dumps into the Atlantic Ocean. It's a really nice place to go and spend the day. Really nice place to go set up a lawn chair and read a book, and you get to watch the boats come in and out of the harbor, and get to watch them striper fishing, and if you're lucky, you get to see the seals chasing the mackerel or basking on the rocks in the sun. It's just this really nice place to be. It's a little bit off the beaten path. It's a little bit unknown, but it's a really nice place to hang out and spend the day. Now I want you to imagine you heard about this place from me, and you said, you know what, that sounds nice. So I'm gonna go check this out. I'm gonna see what Chris is talking about. I need a day just hanging out on this pristine, quiet, peaceful beach. So you put in the GPS coordinates into your car and you drive out there, and you get there and there's a parking lot. And you get to the end of the parking lot and there's a row of dumpsters at the end of the parking lot. So you park there, you take out your lawn chair, you get your book ready, you set up your lawn chair right in front of the dumpsters. And you're hanging out there, and it doesn't smell very good. People have been cleaning fish and leaving the guts in the dumpster out in the sun all day, and you don't have a good view. All you really have a view is of these trashy dumpsters, and they're all nasty. But you remember me saying it was a nice place to watch a sunset. So you decide you're gonna stick it out. You're gonna stick it out and watch the sunset. So you sit there and you read your book, and you're not enjoying yourself, and you're having a terrible time. And then the sun finally starts to go down, and the sun starts to set behind the dumpsters, and you can't even see the sunset. And then you call me up and say, well, Chris, what the hell? You wasted an entire day of mine. You go into great detail telling me how terrible a time it was and how the dumpsters were right there in the way, to which I say, oh no. If you just hold your nose and walk past the dumpsters, there's this pristine, beautiful stretch of beach. It's a really an amazing thing. You just have to go a little bit further down the path, to which you say, well, no way I'm doing that again, Chris. You ruined my entire day. In case you missed it, this is an analogy for how we think, for our own internal psychology, our own internal geometry, if you will. I've got a row of dumpsters in my head. They're filled with regrets and resentments and fear and anxiety. They're filled with all kinds of bad feelings. And sometimes I'll set my beach chair right up in front of them, and I'll spend all day in that feeling. I'll spend all day in that place, and it won't feel good. I won't enjoy it. But I also have this pristine stretch of beach. I also have this beautiful stretch of quintessential New England coast charm. It's a really nice place to be, and when the sun sets, it paints on the sky with pinks and blues and reds and purples, and it's a beautiful place to be. Problem is, I don't think about where I set up my lawn chair sometimes. I don't realize that I'm always the author of my story. I don't realize that I have these different places in my head where I can go. I don't understand at times that I have autonomy in my own internal geography. So yeah, you have negative things from the past, you have worries about the future. You have access to all of these. And if you want to, you can set your lawn chair up there and you can spend the entire day. What I wanted to point out to you, what I wanted to make clear was that you also have a pristine, beautiful stretch of beach. You also have access to beautiful thoughts and feelings. You also have access to beautiful memories and hopes for the future. And we have more autonomy in where we set up our lawn chair than we think. Don't get me wrong, every once in a while I will forget. I will forget and I will set my lawn chair right in front of the dumpsters. And I will spend the entire day there until I realize that I'm the one that decided to set up my chair there. So as you start to wake up to this and you start to see what I'm talking about, as we get further into these lectures, we start to see we have much more autonomy and say in what mood shows up and how we want to be with the day. And whenever it occurs to us that we set up our lawn chair in front of the dumpsters, it's our prerogative to move. It's our prerogative to go someplace else. If you remember from the last lecture, your world is not happening to you. Your world is happening through you. And if this is true, then you have some say in where you want to spend your day, how you want to spend it. And don't get me wrong, everybody has the absolute complete right to spend some time hanging out with their difficult feelings, with their horrible memories, with their fears about the future. But if you truly give people a choice, people who truly see us as a choice, they tend not to stay there very long. They tend not to spend the entire day with their lawn chair in front of the dumpster. They tend to get up and move a little bit quicker. Yes, every once in a while we forget and we hang out there. But guess what? We don't have to. And the more we see this, the more we look into this area, the more we understand a little bit more about how the human operating system works. We tend to have access to deeper and more beautiful and more meaningful feelings. We tend to look there more often. We tend to hold our nose and walk past the dumpsters to get to someplace nicer and better. And don't get me wrong, every once in a while it looks like the world is happening to me. It looks like my world is falling apart. It looks like my world is getting difficult. It looks like the world is actually causing what I feel. Then eventually I wake up to the fact that it's all just a dream. It is all just thought being brought alive in consciousness. It is all just me trying to move through my own thinking. And as we wake up to that, we realize we have more autonomy in where we spend our day, how we spend our day, what thoughts we entertain. Don't stop thoughts. Don't try to fix thoughts. Realize that they're all made up of thought. And when you do that, you realize that your internal geography, your internal geometry, you have a little bit more say than you thought you did. If you were in charge of your brain, would you give your brain anxiety? If you were in charge of your own internal geography, would you spend a lot of time with difficult, sad feelings? If you were in charge, if you were the master of your brain, would you spend a lot of time worrying about the future? Would you spend more time in the present moments, looking for the kindness and the beauty and the love available to you? Your brain is a fantastic servant and a horrible master. And the moment you see that, you start to move in and out of difficult feelings with grace and ease, without too much trouble, without too much fear. Just wanted to add that for today. Looking forward to doing some more videos and some more stuff. I'm hoping you understand a little bit more about your internal geometry or geography. Hope to talk to you guys again real soon. Thank you.